June. Be careful now, the meeting's live, so.
I was told that they're moving a lot more people to the Minerva plant than they expected at first.
Yeah, I don't know.
Plus they're gonna move 2 of those presses to the Minerva plant.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from them. I think they're really tied up with, I think, deciding, or whether they have decided who the new plant manager is yet. I think there's, working on that whole thing, so. Get not quite 6:30, but I see we are live on YouTube. Wait till Phil gets in. Brenda, is that you on there?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Hey, Brenda.
Hey, Nate.
Hey, Patty.
Hi.
Just waiting for Clark's connecting to the audio, and Phil's signed in, but I don't know where he's at in the building down there. Has anybody else qualified for your COVID shot? Any of you been able to get it?
I get mine on February 1st.
Okay. I have both of mine. I now have both of mine. I got my second one on Saturday, so.
No problems.
Very little of any kind, but some other people were much sicker. They did react more than I did. I didn't really get much of anything, so.
Look at Phil, this new haircut.
Yeah, I saw him today. Look at it.
Thanks.
I don't think he's been that clean shaven since we hired him.
That is correct. It became too much in the morning now that Emily's back to work. It just became too much. I don't know how every woman that blow dries her hair every single morning I have a newfound respect for, because man, that's not fun.
He's married with a kid now.
How's that little guy doing?
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
He's a blessing, that's for sure. We are live both on YouTube and on Spectrum. So
All righty, it's little past 6:30, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the workshop. I'm gonna turn it over to the administrator, Phil Tursky.
I want to go over just a few small things, and I want to talk about the pool. There's a decent amount of time on that. I got word back from Signature Sign out of Cleveland. I asked them what could we do to reduce the cost. As we spoke the last meeting, they said if you do the excavation and you pour the footers, they gave us a price. They said that normally takes off about $10K off of that price. And they gave us some other ideas of how to reduce the cost. They said you can make the sign smaller. You could eliminate using their truck bed liner / acrylic polyurethane epoxy blend finish coat, and just use the regular epoxy coat. And then they also said instead of using the script lettering, you can use the block style lettering. We are in contact trying to find some other firms to get some other quotes to get some more detailed pricing and ideas for council. I'll bring that as soon as we have those, but that kind of gives you an idea that what we showed last time we could do for about 40,000 with in-house in-kind labor. There is an optional executive session that will be for tonight. I kind of want to explain that. It's going to be scheduled for the middle of the meeting. If council so decides that they want to go into executive session to have further discussion involving one of the ordinances, they can. I asked Patty to come along so we can schedule that. And if one of you, or if any of all of you decide to say, hey, let's just go into executive session, I want to talk about this a little bit more, we can. Just want to make a note of that. Talk about some of the, I'll bring it up again tonight. when we get to it, but one of the motions, the police department will be applying for a Ohio Attorney General Body Armor grant. It's from 2020. They've extended it into the 2021 year. Essentially, you go and you provide them the amount that you're going to spend. They'll give you an award, whether you got the award or not. You spend the money up front, and then they'll reimburse 75% of those costs. So for us to get 15 vests, it would cost us $13,089. And through the grant, we'd be reimbursed $9,816.75.
But we don't know if we would get the grant.
We don't until they make a decision. It's normally after application. It's kind of it's a rolling status. After application, it's about 60 days to find out whether or not you got it. So, and that amount, that 25% amount was what we budgeted in our 2021 budget for them.
So Phil, what happens if we buy these vests, don't get the grant?
We will not purchase them until we'll know whether or not we got the grant before we have to purchase them. And then if we don't get the grant, we can make a decision at that time. All right, let's move into the pool because I have a feeling I want this to.
Yeah, Phil, can we get
Yeah.
just clarification? He mentioned that, so everybody got it. About the executive session during council. So let's kind of decide now, because what the ordinance is to now, we voted to have Clark give that to them, right? We are now, right, Clark, voting to approve it. You're muted. You got your mute on. There you
Can you hear
go.
me now?
Yep, now you're okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, tonight's would be actually approving the ordinance, which will attach the exhibit, which will be the settlement agreement. So we'll actually be approving the agreement.
Okay. Were there any changes? Well, let's let that go. Does anybody feel that when we go into council that they are going to need an executive session to discuss the settlement further? If so, I just want to make sure I have it here on my docket, so at the end I know we're going to do it. If not, we would just move forward. So,
Are there any changes?
There was no significant change. Their attorney added just a few words, but it was nothing substantive at all. It didn't change anything. So they basically bought all of our changes. I think a couple places she added like village or something like that made no difference at all. I can get to the red line version to see what it was that she did.
There are no changes. I personally don't need to meet in executive session.
Yeah, if there's no changes, I don't think we need to meet.
Agreed.
Nate,
Yeah, I'm good. No, yeah, if we didn't change anything.
Elliot?
Not gonna change my mind either way.
Okay, well, looks like we don't need to have it, so we won't take that time. Okay, Phil?
Good stuff.
Back
Makes
to
it
you.
easier for scheduling it.
Yeah. Back to you.
I wanted to go over a couple things with the pool. Two separate things: pool operation, and then also it was mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago, about the potential of serving food at the pool. And I reached out to the health department and I sent it in last week's update of what that would require for us to be able to serve food. And that's even a hot dog cart, one of the little spinny hot dog things. JT, correct me if I'm wrong. We only have one sink at the pool right now.
Correct. There's one sink in the office other than the sinks in the bathrooms, but those aren't for food preparation.
So for right now, we have one sink. The health department will require us to have 3 separate sinks. And one of those is a 3-compartment sink for washing, rinsing, sanitizing, a separate sink for just hand washing, which we currently have. And then also a mop sink for cleaning out the mop, dumping any kind of cleaning water. We'll also require the installation of a grease trap, either 100 pounds inside or 750 gallon outside. Health department works with pre-existing structures on which they install. We'll also need a number of plans, one being a general site plan. This could be off of Google Maps. This must show entrances, exits, refuse pickup, floor drawing plan, the general layout of the inside of the building, a plumbing plan that shows all of the plumbing from the sinks to where everything goes, a lighting plan, all equipment lists. This includes every piece of equipment, manufacturers, product numbers, what kind of hot dog spinning thing you're using, everything like that, and the menu of items to be served. There's a fee to apply for these plans to be reviewed. It's $225.50, and then there's also a yearly license of $239.50 that increases each year. So the idea of serving food sounds great, but on pay, we just don't have the structure built the way it is, and the amount of cost that would go into to try to break even, I don't think is feasible on this. There was a couple ideas that were thrown out to me about alternatives to us serving the food. Tim, do you want to throw that out there, or do you? Oh, I think you're muted. Yep.
I'm sorry. The only thing that came up, and I think somebody else mentioned it too, that what if we wanted to do something else that may give us some revenue, why don't we offer out there? And I would guess most of this time it would be Friday or Saturday, Sunday, or something like that. And we take and throw it out to some of the food trucks in the area and let them buy a space down there in front of the pool for the day. And rather than trying to take a deal with percentage of their day's intake, we just flat rate it to them. So $50 a day, whatever that looked like, to make it feasible, and let them schedule the days that they want. And then if we have a day where the pool's closed because of the weather, they can just move that day to another day. So it was just my idea. We could pick up some revenue that way without really incurring any expense whatsoever.
Well, then we're promoting the food trucks and boosting their business and whatnot. But are we throwing out the option of like prepackaged food, candy and chips and stuff like that? Are we capable of doing that, where we're not preparing anything and we're not touching anything, so we could still make a revenue?
That's what we did before. That's what we've done in the past. We've had soda, different drinks, candy, chips, and I think we continue to do that. I don't think we owe that to if the food truck's there, they're for the hot stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
They want sandwich or they want something else.
I think it's an okay idea, the food truck piece. I don't know that $50 a day in revenue 3 days a week is really going to put much of a dent into our overall losses, though.
Well, I think we'd have to get with some of these food truck people. I know, Matt, you know the one guy, right?
Yeah. Some of them
looks like.
Some of the only things with these food trucks is they like to have a guaranteed crowd where they're going to make a profit before they want to come down. So that's just something I could see them come down maybe on a Saturday, Sunday, but I don't know about during the week. Also, what about, do we rent out the chairs, or do we just offer those to anybody that wants to come sit down at the pool?
One thing at a time, Matt.
Okay. The chairs at the pool.
It's a good point. And I'm 100% right on. We just give them out. Now back to the food, because I'm being told that we're, there's cost involved. Yes, we have to put a sink in, but that's not a reoccurring cost. We'd have to put two in, actually. How much is it going to cost to put in the oil tank, the oil tank?
Grease trap.
Grease trap.
I don't
think-
know that cost.
I think you just have to put something outside to dump your oil in, and they come and pump it out. So I don't think we have to put it in ground. I think. I'm not sure though.
No, I believe we need the grease trap on the plumbing so it doesn't
Oh,
go
for
into
the
the
plumbing.
sanitary sewer.
Gotcha.
And I mean, plumbing is already in the building, correct?
Not for that.
It's all underground in the cement.
There's no way of tapping into any water that's already existing in the building.
Yeah, you could tap into water, but the drain lines are all underground and the concrete.
Okay.
This also means that you have a dedicated person to that job.
Well, if you're going to open up this year, you're going to have a lot more dedicated people, period. You got to have someone cleaning the bathrooms every 2 hours.
But
I could find something else to do when they're not cleaning the bathrooms, like make hot dogs.
In my best guess, you have to have all stainless, right, JT? The sinks and everything have to be all stainless.
I believe so.
Yeah. And that
I
has
understand.
3-compartment sink. Okay.
I understand that, but we spend, I don't know, for the last 2 years, we've spent over $10,000 on patio furniture that hasn't been making us any money.
I don't know.
We at least get an idea of what that would cost before we decide not to do it.
JT, would that not require that we get like an engineer or something in there to lay that all out in a drawing? Because that's the only way the county will let you do it.
But I think the drawing was like, it wasn't like an engineer's drawing. I think it was a rough sketch, but I think, we could contact a plumber and get some estimates as to what it would take.
We could also look at buying a portable hot dog cart. Some of those have a mini 3-compartment sink. I don't know about parking it outside or just, I mean, just something to look into if might be something cheaper than renovating the whole inside of the pool house. So just something to look into.
I think we would be required, Matt, to have running water.
Oh, do we? Okay.
I believe so. You'd have to have running water. Could you have to change
Mm-hmm.
they go through this down at the Lions Pavilion when the homecoming was on, that lady.
Okay.
I believe it has, in fact, you have to have hot water at a certain temperature. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that's some of the things we'll run into. But like JT said, he's willing to get the quote, so. That's what you want him to do.
I think if we're going to sustain anything at the pool, then we're going to have to figure out how to get more revenue, and charging more to get into the pool doesn't seem to be an option. So I think we're going to have to look at some different options. And I like what Elliot said earlier. This is a one-time cost where we can get this stuff taken care of and hopefully make some money on it.
And even more so, Mason, we hire high school kids for lifeguarding. I mean, we do kind of offer a service for kids that are in school to work during their summers. And if we are making more revenue, it may be an opportunity to employ more kids that, maybe don't necessarily want to be lifeguards, but, want to sit there and take money and tickets to get in and dispense food.
Well, I think the other side of this thing is when you start looking at revenue, I think we need to make sure we have a pool manager that wants to do some exciting things and create excitement around not just opening the doors and letting people in. I think we got to get somebody in there that's going to push it. They're going to, we all, we had a manager that we had that was doing some of that, and some of that was successful of what she was trying to do. I think that's where we miss out. We don't do anything outside of opening the doors and letting them in. And that's why I'd like, Matt's the council representative on the park board. And I think we ought to get the park board involved with some ideas. I think Matt should have a meeting with them and let's get something going on. Pool, the park. I've got some stuff to share with Matt. I don't need to share it here. We have a group in town that wants to help do some things. So I need to meet with Matt and the park board and tell them what that's all about and what they're excited about. And I think if we get some programs and some things like that, we never did anything with really doing any, I guess what I'll call them night swims. They weren't really night swims, but after hours thing where people get into that after hour thing and not their regular mission is not. This is an event after hours and just have some excitement and find some of that. Tie it to park programs. You got kids program in the park, you tie it to the swimming pool, right? I like to see Matt meet with the park board and get them involved in this too.
Brandon did do a couple of dances down there that I think went pretty well.
Yeah, I think events are the driving force. If you listen to other mayors from other towns that have pools, they have all sorts of things they're doing. Now, COVID has shot a lot of that in the foot, don't get me wrong. But they're out there and they have events that involve their parks and their pools, and that's how they generate that extra money, by doing those kinds of things that isn't isn't that person paying to come sit on a lawn chair inside the pool every day or whatever day they come, that there's something outside that box going on. But I also know that person's hard to find. If you have somebody that can work during those months, the kind of hours that we would like to see put into it. So we got a beautiful area inside that pool, man. We can put a lot of people, well, not right now we can't, but we could have a great thing right inside the pool. Used to hold the young little Miss Minerva thing at the swimming pool in July, like a little pageant thing, and people, people in because the grandparents were there, the parents were there, and they were all paying to get in, so I think that's where our revenue's at, if we can create some excitement. Like right now, the thing going on, it just came out, I think today, the Chamber of Commerce now you can rent the Roxy for a movie for $75, and you can bring up to 20 people you're inviting, private, up to 20 people, and you can have a movie at the Roxy for $75 for 20 people. They just trying to raise some revenue, because they can't do Nate's musicals, and so they can't. But I think it's that excitement that makes people respond. We do some good things, we'll get sponsors. They'll sponsor an event. Right, Nate?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. People in this town will respond to that. So that might be our other revenue source.
And we thought of, and maybe, I don't know about this year necessarily, but in future years, when we have homecoming, should we keep the pool open during homecoming? So then they're not all just stuck down there. Like we could have that running for an extended time instead of shutting down at 6 o'clock when everything goes, that we could have
Do that.
that going,
do
you
that
know, I
after
mean,
hours, you know?
and just continue the party over that way. So I don't know.
Matt, what's your feelings of bringing the park board into it?
Yeah, it's all, is it still Rich Brown, Bob Clark, Tara Lawson, Chuck Stoller, and Rob Yegley?
No, Chuck Stoller stepped out.
Okay.
That's now Brian Stout.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to him and then I'll try to
Yeah,
get with
I
them
did-
to set up a,
Now, Phil and I have been talking, I think, along with Clark. Anytime we have these board meetings with these groups, whatever you're working with, we need to start getting minutes of the meetings. Record, you can do it digital.
Mhm.
I've got a digital recorder I keep in my office down there for court, but we need to keep some kind of notes, meeting notes or recorded records of those meetings. In case somebody comes in and says, well, I want to know what the park board talked about the last time they met. So just so you know, if you call a meeting for something you're in charge of, you need to either have a secretary in there that'll write minutes, or you're gonna have to use the digital thing and record it. That's just out there. Right, Clark? That's the right thing to do?
Right.
Okay.
Do you guys get a copy of the minutes from the fire board?
No.
Does Aaron email that to anybody?
Brenda, you don't get those, do you?
No, I do not.
They should be on file with us too, since we have representatives on the board.
Yeah, I'll start having Rudy does our minutes. I'll start having him CC a copy of them to Brenda.
Okay.
All right, what else we got?
What else on the pool, Phil? What?
Want to go over operation of it for this year. JT and I have been working on that. We're going to have to get all the lifeguards recertified. We're getting in touch with the gentleman from Salem to see what his schedule is like. We are moving forward with trying to open the pool this year. We have all the guidelines from the health department in the state. It's going to require a reduced capacity, signs, barriers. We're going to have to shut down every other locker, but we have a plan in place that we're going to get all that taken care of. As far as the cleaning and capacity, JT, we talked about earlier today, you said the capacity to be safe would be set at 120 at any given time within the pool.
Correct. That would be given. The minimum for 6 foot social distancing would be 28 square feet per person. That's going to have people packed in there pretty tight. But at 120 people, that's going to give us about 45 square feet per person. So that should make it easier on the lifeguards.
How do we feel about how do we feel about our passes?
What's the price now? Sorry.
We may not be able to do passes this year because we're going to have to restrict the amount of people in there with the reduced capacity. And if we sell passes, it's not always going to be available. So I think Phil and I were talking, it might be just best just to do general admission, and maybe the pass cards, the 12 visit pass cards.
Yeah, I actually think this is a good opportunity to see what our revenue would be like and our attendance without offering any passes.
Yeah.
And in years past, we have kept track of the general admission, the punch cards, and as well as the season pass attendance. So some of those days, some of the weekends, there was, several hundred people there. Other times there was only 100, 150 people there. So we do keep track of that though.
To go along with that limit, as Elliot mentioned earlier, there is an every 2 hour that we have to spray and sanitize. So JT and I were talking about ideas on how to handle that. And we believe that the best way to do this is to set 2 hour blocks. Well, I don't want to use the term blocks, but 2 hour windows where the pool is open to be used. So I have a better sheet somewhere. An example would be open the pool at 11 o'clock, 50 minutes. The lifeguards need 10 minutes of break, another 50 minutes, and then it closes at 1 so that the lifeguards can take their break and then also have 30 minutes to clean and sanitize per the state's guidelines. Then at 1:30, have another 2 hour block, the same kind of, and keep going, do that staggered. So every 2 hours, there's a half an hour break where everything is sanitized, everything is clean, washed down, and the lifeguards would be doing that. As far as keeping the 120 limit, the person at the door would have a clicker. And this is where I want your ideas on this. This is the best we came up with, is the person at the door has a clicker or at 11 a.m., 120 people come in. No one else gets in after there's 120. We can't do it per the health department. So we cap it at 120. And then once those 2 hours end, if any of one of those people want to come back in and they have a wristband, they're allowed in. Whatever extra we have, new people can come in at that time. So you know that if you're going to go to the pool, you can't be there at 11 a.m. Get there at 1:30, because 1:30 is the new start of the cap. And I asked JT to run the numbers. There was only a handful of exceptions where we've had over 120 in the pool at any one time. Those have been the big holidays, Memorial Day. JT, there was some random July that we had 150, 180 in there, correct?
Yeah, there were a couple of Saturdays or Sundays in July that we had 180 people, something like that. But it was far and few between.
Yeah, so it's a handful throughout the summer where the 120 limit would be potentially cause an issue. But I think most people would be understanding to realize that we're doing everything we can to even open the pool this year. So any thoughts on that from council?
I would worry a little bit about the whole closing for 30 minutes. If I plan on coming back, but I don't come back for 2 hours, and I walk in after paying and you say, oh, nope, sorry, you can't come in, we're at our max. I think that would make some people a little upset.
Okay.
I mean, if I go home at 1:30 and I want to come back at 4:30, I should be allowed to do that. But if the pool's at its max, then you wouldn't have let me back in. That might be a problem.
So I guess my suggestion would be 120 laminated passes. Everybody gets one when they come. You turn it in when you leave. We always know what the count is. And if you leave and turn it in and you come back, there's no readmittance. You pay to get back in.
I think we'd have a problem there. I mean,
well, it's not. You're not going out to your car. I think there's
I
a
mean,
big difference
you're making
between
me
going
leave.
out to your car. But if I go somewhere and pay to get in and then decide to go back later, I'm not expecting to just walk in. I mean, I get your point, Mason.
Is
but
it always like
I
that?
agree with Elliot on this.
Yeah, but you're not letting me eat food there. So I'm going to go get lunch and come back 2 hours later, and I got to pay to get back in.
They used to do it at football games. No readmittance. There's a sign right there and you walk in, pay for your ticket.
Yeah, but there's no reason to leave a football game. You're making me leave the swimming pool.
So
What
I
if-
understand, are you really, they would have to leave during that shutdown period? They'd have to.
In order to
leave?
sanitize.
Huh?
The chemicals
order
that
to
we're putting
sanitize it.
on the chairs and stuff, we'd have to spray down all the chairs. and then clean the bathrooms and all the contact
I,
surfaces.
That's kind of what I was getting to at the chair rental. I think if that person rents that chair for the day, couldn't it be up to them just to wipe it down? Like, you know what I mean? It's not 5 different people aren't going to use that chair in one day. It's just that person. So I don't know if that's,
Well, the only problem there is then you're trusting them to actually do it instead of just say, they could just say, "Oh, I did it," and they didn't.
Yeah, but
do it,
they, like Matt said though, if they rented that chair, let's say that's Chase Lounge number 10, right? And Sally rents that chair. Sally has possession of chair 10, as long as she's there, right? She's gonna turn chair 10 back in when she leaves. Why do we have to sterilize some if that's the only person in it?
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, why? I can't
I don't
see
think we have to.
Now, when it comes back to us, Sally turns it in because she's leaving. Then we got to wipe it down before
Yeah.
somebody else can have chair 10. I can't see if I'm, and that's the other thing. If you look at the people over the time here that are always at the pool, and we have our regulars, right, that show up and spend pretty much 4 or 5 hours there. I'm not sure that that's how that's going to fly, where they literally have to leave and may take the chance of not getting back in. I don't know. But if you guarantee it and they say, well, I'm coming back in an hour, and they don't, and you turn away people because they didn't come back. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one.
I think this is a good discussion. I think we're making progress, far more progress than we did last year with anything. And I mean, not that we're necessarily deciding on anything directly today, but at least we have a better thought process and moving forward with all this so that we can table it again and come back next meeting or whatever and have a better grasp on how we're actually going to combat these issues.
Hey, when are we gonna start looking for a pool manager? I think that should be a pretty big step in all this.
I believe we still have Brandon.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been in contact with him over the winter about what he needed for the pool and stuff. So I believe he's still actually in that capacity.
Should we invite him to next meeting with possible ideas on his end? So he's part of this discussion. If so, we're not, if he's working it, we're not making all the decisions if he's going to have better way of doing something.
We definitely can invite him.
How's the hiring looking for the kids? Is there a lot of kids that want to come? Did we lose a lot of kids that graduated, or is there a steady amount of kids that want to come back?
I believe I haven't been in contact with them, but I believe we lost about half. So we're going to have to hire some new ones and get them trained. The ones that are coming back, they just need a recertification. They don't need the full course.
So what are the qualifications? I mean, is there an age limit? Is there anything like that? What do they have to do?
To be certified as a lifeguard, I believe you have to be 16. It may be 15, but I believe it's 16. You have to go through either the YMCA class or the American Red Cross class, and you also have to have CPR and AED training.
And even the people working the door and all that are certified lifeguards. They just rotate.
Correct.
All right, what else you got, Phil?
As far as that's all I had. JT and I hit the same wall that you all are on trying to how to plan handling the cleaning, that 2 hour break or that that's why we were asking for ideas, because we know what we came up with may not be perfect, but we got to come up with something. So,
I mean, if we're not, having everybody exit the pool to sanitize the chairs and everything, I mean, every 2 hours we could go around and wipe down all the contact surfaces. That won't be an issue.
Yeah,
especially if we're renting the chairs. I mean, that kind of settles that one. I mean,
And another easy way of settling it is get rid of all the chairs for this year. They can bring their own.
bring their own. Unless you're gonna rent them. Hey, couldn't we, instead of JT, maybe this is for you. Could we, instead of closing the whole pool down, right? We just close down the bathrooms? For short, notify them that in 10 minutes, we're gonna be closing the one restroom for cleaning. Won't be
Yeah,
available.
we probably could do that. I'd want to check with the health department because we are supposed to have bathrooms available if public's in there. But
And then up front, where somebody may touch the counters, the person at the front counter can just take wipes and wipe the counter off every once in a while, like they do at Kishman's, they wipe the stuff.
Yep.
I know that doesn't solve the 120 thing, right? When you get the 120, you're done. But I think that alleviates that though with the pass, right? That's a great idea, I think, JT. Don't sell the pass. Then you won't offend that person who bought the pass and can't get in. It's gonna strictly be.
also, if we don't have to kick people out every 2 hours to do that sanitization,
Right.
the clean and sanitizing, then the idea of giving them a card or making them rip off their slip or their wristband each time would work for keeping track. So we'll check with the health department. We'll get Brandon involved.
Yeah, my concern with Brandon is I know we've had issues with people with him. And one thing that we can't tolerate is when he gets into one of his cussing at customer things. That cannot be acceptable. He has to be able to control himself, and he cannot get into using vulgar words with people that he's upset with inside the pool. I know we've had those complaints on him. He starts, and there's kids, and so somebody has to tell him that's not acceptable. But again, I think the park board, Matt, if they can get involved and give us some ideas, maybe we got some things we can do.
Sounds good. I'll work on getting contact for each person, getting in contact with each one.
Thank you.
And as for me, there is nothing else. I do want to mention about the hazard mitigation plan through Carroll County. We just got informed about this last week. Over the past 3 years prior to my arrival, members of Carroll County had 5 different meetings with a consultant putting together the hazard mitigation plan. It kind of shows the list of rankings of hazards that the county itself are most susceptible to. Give you a couple hitters off the list: severe winter storm, tornado, wildfire, public health emergencies, oil and gas, landslide, and flooding are some of the ones that were on the top, higher ranked side of our potential hazards. So, and by us passing this, we're part of the county's hazard mitigation plan.
Anything else, everybody?
Did we get any quotes from any other mowing companies?
Yeah, they haven't. I've got one from one company. I contacted Farron. He's going to resubmit his quote. They're due, I believe, February 1st.
That it? The workshop?
Oh, I got.
Ellie,
JT, do you have anything?
No, everything else I can just do in council. It's no big deal.
Anything? Elliot, do you have anything else for workshop? Matt,
I don't have anything else.
Nate,
No, sir.
Mason,
Nope, I'm good.
Clark, anything before?
Nope, can't think of anything.
Okay, well, you know what's on the agenda tonight, so we've got some second readings. We've got a third reading on one of the items. Second readings on a few. And we have one that has, that mitigation he was talking about has to go through as an emergency because they got, it's a deadline in it, Phil.
Yeah, they deadline is actually the middle of February, so they kind of sprang it to us on short notice.
Okay. And then we'll have the settlement agreement and then the item of a motion about approving for go forward seeking the grant for the bulletproof vest for the police department. So that should all, shit's what's on the thing tonight. I don't know whether, I didn't hear whether any guests were coming, whether Denise was coming or whether the fire chief was coming. And I hadn't heard, so.
Chief Stoller will not be here tonight. Denise, I believe, is planning on attending. I sent her an invite and she mentioned the last meeting, before the last meeting, she would want to come to this one, so.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess then we're off the screen and sign back in under your other meeting for the council meeting. In time to go live at 7:30.
See y'all
Okay.
then.
Okay. We'll see y'all then.
We'll see you guys.
Yep.